is 2019, everyone, and just like last year, I want to start off this year with a bang. Was that a little corny? Probably a little too corny. But everyone has New Year's resolutions. Maybe it's a little weight loss, maybe it's spending more time with our family, but it probably is the most important thing, being a better Yu-Gi-Oh player. Some of us happen to be on a budget and can't necessarily afford those higher tier decks. But what if I told you with a little investment for as low as $200, you can eventually be able to play any deck you want? I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go and destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, go ahead and hit that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. I also want to give a special thanks to every single one of my Patreons. Without you guys, videos like this would not be possible. I also have to give a mad shout out to our newest Patreons. I gotta call them two at a time just to catch up. Jackson Briggs and Jameson Walker, welcome to the top dogs. Make sure you guys add yourself to that Discord and either message me or Jest so we can get you into the top dogs category. Without further ado, I present to you how to play any Yu-Gi-Oh deck on a budget, but more importantly, how to play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh on a budget. Now, I know you guys might be looking at me crazy. Cali, I can't build some of the highest tiered or most expensive decks with a budget in mind, and the answer is over time, yes you can. If you follow these simple steps or just use the fourth method, then you'll be able to have these decks in your arsenal very soon. But you gotta start off low, especially if you are on a budget. You budget players gotta work a little bit harder than the people with money. But hey, with great sacrifice comes great reward. At least that's what Uncle Ben told me. That's not what he told me. The very first step to playing Yu-Gi-Oh on a budget is one of the simplest, but if you guys don't actually take in account for this, then you might be doing it all wrong. I actually remember back in my college days, I had one of the best accounting professors ever. We would talk all the time. I still talk to him to this day. He would always tell me, hey, make sure before you get into any project, at that time I was talking to him about making YouTube videos, that you write down a budget. You want to always be able to have a number in mind of how much you're going to spend on a specific project, and that's exactly what you should do in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now I'm speaking to you guys as if you did not play Yu-Gi-Oh! Whatsoever. You're coming in cold turkey and have 0 cards, mainly because casual Yu-Gi-Oh! And being a collector are a completely separate animal from competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! There are going to be some cards or even a strategy that you might not just have that you will need to invest in. The biggest thing about identifying your budget, it will allow you to be able to determine 2 things. The first thing is your return on investment. While Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't a great market for buying and selling cards, it actually is pretty profitable if you know what you're doing. You follow these correct steps, not only will you be turning your gameplay into a business, you'll be essentially turning every card that you buy into a resource for you to get other cards, which will essentially get you cards that you need. Another reason for identifying your budget is that certain strategies cost a lot of money. You don't want to go in blind and start buying or picking up a strategy only to find out that that said strategy is out of your money budget, and then have to try to get rid of that strategy to get another strategy. It can be an entire headache on its own. I think that this is the main reason why you should always set a budget, because then you'll be able to identify, okay, this strategy can fit to my budget, I can go get it. And then you won't have to worry about the headache of trying to figure out how to get the other cards or trying to get rid of your other cards to get other cards. In my humble opinion, I think that $200 is the perfect number while being relatively low and still being able to have a wide variety of decks for you to choose from. For the people that can't afford $200, well, it's okay. There are still some really good strategies that are cheaper than 200. I just like to use 200 as a very nice number because, again, it can hit a lot of decks, and you guys have to remember the $200 that you are spending is an investment. Not only are you planning to get that $200 back through cards, you'll be able to get even more expensive cards with this deck that you were buying. Now, number 2 on this list, the second part of this list, I see a lot of players mess up on. They always want to play this, then that, then this, different decks here and there, and then they wound up pretty much not playing much of anything and not being successful in the format. my very next strongest suggestion is to pick one strategy. That's right, pick one strategy to play Yu-Gi-Oh! In. Now, this one can be a little tricky because some decks, some strategies might look really good, but then turn out to either be hit by the forbidden list where they're no longer playable. That doesn't happen too much now, but it's still possible. Or they just so happen to receive a meta shift where other decks are just more valuable in terms of playability than them. I strongly recommend watching my meta breakdown videos. They'll be able to give you some really good insight on what decks are really hot right now, as well as what deck can beat it, but even more importantly, those underrated cheap decks that you guys could be using. You really have to do some research on some of these strategies because some of them might look really good and robust when in the end, they're not as powerful as you think. After picking your said strategy, it's time to buy it. And you want to buy the lowest rarity of every single card possible. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we're on a budget here, so in order to fit that budget, being able to get the cards for as cheap as possible is just as equally important. Another thing I want to run by you guys is, while websites might give you some really good pricing at times, and there might be a lot of options to choose from, buying from your local shop, friends, or even the TheCaliEffect might be a better way to go at times if they have those cards available. Why? Because being able to pick up the cards for a little cheaper than what you see on the website can go volumes. And always keep in mind, buying cards at even if it is 90% of its value is better than going online and buying 100%. I'm not saying leave those websites alone. I'm just saying always look for the best deal possible when buying these decks. A lot of times when you buy from people, when they normally sell you a deck core or the majority of a strategy, they throw in a lot of free cards. So that will be your friend when it comes to getting some cheap competitive decks and will run a long way. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we have two sides of the trifecta down. And this is where a lot of people I see tend to fall off. Because budget players, you guys don't necessarily have the luxury of being able to buy a new strategy every time the forbidden list or a new set drops. You have to resort to this. Play Yu-Gi-Oh! Play lots of Yu-Gi-Oh! Play loads of Yu-Gi-Oh! And build a trade binder. Now, these two go hand in hand for a very good reason. The reason why we play loads of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is because we want to play in one setting only. We want to play in the most competitive tournament setting that will give us rewards. There are plenty of Yu-Gi-Oh! Shops in your area that might offer some incentive when you win. Some shops offer store credit, even though maybe Konami shouldn't be watching this, but some shops offer store credit and other shops offer OTS packs. While other shops might offer prizes such as boxes, I think all three of them are effective ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, there is a couple of reasons why you want to go to these settings and then spend that time and investment into playing in those. First of all, you're going to be playing against higher tiered players. Think about it. In a competitive environment or in an environment where a prize is always there, players are going to bring out their best. So being able to play against some of the best players in your area will make you a better player. You can't get better by playing players lower than you. A lot of people like to rag on TJ in my videos, but there was a point in time where TJ ran the shop back in, I want to say, Agents format. He was a dog, and when I mean that he used this formula to perfection, he had every card that he ever wanted just because he played against a lot of the top tier players, and that allowed him to be a better player himself. The thought process behind this is that the better players, or the more times you play better players, the better you will become, which will then increase your chances of winning. Those players that you once struggled against might not be that much of a struggle anymore. Therefore, you'll get bigger pieces of the pie every single time you top, getting those boxes, getting those OTS cards, getting whatever your store has. And that comes hand in hand with, again, making that trade binder. Now, this trade binder serves one purpose and one purpose only. You're going to be able to immediately get rid of those resources for other cards, but only if they are a part of your strategy. So say, for example, you win a couple of times at your local level event and pull some highly sought after OTS cards. You can then turn around and sell those OTS cards for cash to later allocate to another strategy, or you can go ahead and trade them for another strategy if you guys decide to switch on over. If you guys are catching my thought process, that $200 that you originally put will go ahead and get you store credit, packs, or cards that will eventually allow you to transfer over to another strategy. If you keep topping, you're bound to get lucky and score some really high-end cards, and that is all you need to be able to advance into another strategy inside of this game. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that playing and updating your binder is going to be your gateway into getting another strategy, whether it's because of a meta change or just because you might be sick and tired of that strategy. You always need to have an up-to-date binder. My strongest suggestion is anything high-end you might want to get rid of immediately. It doesn't matter really for the percentage, but I'm just saying the TheCaliEffect is always buying. Another thing is that when you want to switch your strategy, make sure that you have at least gotten your investment off of the strategy first. If you spent $200 into that strategy, you might want to get at least $200 of cards back before you go into another strategy. That will always keep it so you technically have $400 worth of cards to be able to invest into the next strategy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if that doesn't seem like your type of route, either A, you have a load of money and just don't care about buying cards, or B, this route is a route that probably deserves an entirely different video, because if ran correctly, it is an effective way to acquire cards if you don't mind sharing. Having a Yu-Gi-Oh team is one of the unspoken things of Yu-Gi-Oh! You and a group of guys, preferably 3 other people, not 4 other people, 3 other people, split the cost of onto having multiple strategies. That way, you can always play almost any strategy you want to. 4 people are now running the show at your tournament setting. If it's big enough, you can actually dominate the top 4 of every single one of your tournaments, which is beneficial to you guys. And 3, you'll probably never have to spend money into the Yu-Gi-Oh card game again. Now, this strategy obviously comes with its own vices, its own set of rules, and probably should be a video on its own. Let me know down below in the comment section if you guys want to see it. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of The TheCaliEffect. If you follow these sweet, simple rules, then I promise you guys, you'll be able to play any strategy you want in no time. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great 2019, like I am.